say, come, I have a gun. He will come with a bigger gun than yours. So, the media publicizes such things and compromises the strategic component of it. So, I will think that both parties need to understand what confidentiality is in this operation, because for the journalist, his primary assignment is to broadcast the news, to be the first to be on air, or to be the first to have a headline, which is where the public relations officer differs. Because the work of the public relations officer is to manage information and not to dispatch information. So sometimes people will appoint to take care of information, because what I've seen in this country is that a lot of PROs are picked from the rank of journalists. And once you bring them in, they'll say everything because that's their training. But the PRO's work is to manage. That is why wives make very good PROs when it comes to transferring information to their husbands. Certain information are better transmitted in the bedroom. Some are on the dining table. Some are somewhere else. But there must be a place, there must be a time, there must be a setting that makes certain information work. So I think for the issue to work well, a forum like this is extremely important when we discuss these things and know what these terms, these concepts mean to both of us. Because I was just telling a prof when we were discussing, he said certain ethical values have lost their objective definitions in this country. Those who are blowing pipelines in the Delta, you call them terrorists, they call themselves freedom fighters. The Boko Haram who is disturbing the Northeast, you call him a terrorist. He sees himself as a Muslim faithful. So, and I believe this is just a process of nationhood. We are trying to build a nation. So a situation where the Igbo man defines truthfulness the same way as the Hausa Fulani or Yoruba would define it, or defines courage as the same way it is defined all round. This meeting is extremely important, sir. I want to commend the Army for it, because we are beginning to define certain concepts in the same way, and we are beginning to belong to the same page on the same matter.
Let me just ask you again, in the light of what you just mentioned, that for the journalist, because that's the truth of the matter, he wants to be the first to break the news before any other person, any other station, and he needs immediate answers. While on the other hand, the military is not usually, in fact, it's not forthcoming. So, how do we get the military to understand that aspect of news and news production, that news is only news when it is hot and it is very, very urgent, because that is what normally happens, and then people begin to speculate. It matters a lot.
Yes, the journalists, the army, we are all involved in building a nation. That's the bottom line. The journalist has no business if Nigeria does not exist. And the army has no business if Nigeria does not exist. So can we get an understanding that the existence of Nigeria is the primary responsibility of all of us? The journalist is not more Nigerian than the army, than the soldier. And the soldier is not more, doesn't love Nigeria more than the journalist. So if we get that understanding, then it's easy for the journalist to understand that if I report this, it will harm the unity of this country. Let me give a practical example. In NTA, I worked with NTA as an editor in 1978-79. And this was in the year they were shooting armed robbers. And after shooting armed robbers in Bauchi, they were taken to the cemetery. And one of the armed robbers got up and started begging for clemency. He said he will not steal again. Please, they should spare him. He was alive. And NTA recorded it. And a few minutes later, an officer came to NTA with a kinetic mindset, a toting gun. If you don't bring that in, I will shoot everybody. The editors told him, go ahead and shoot, but we'll tell the nation what has happened. The implication is that all those you have told us you have been killing, you have purposely not been killing them and collecting money from them. Yes, people could think that. And he left in anger. Then a more senior officer came and sat the editors down and said, please, this is the implication of this. If you announce this, it does not help the nation. This is the implication, this is the implication. And we understood with him. And that particular material from the pneumatic tapes we used to use those days was completely deleted. Because the man came with a non-kinetic approach that appealed to the emotion and the national patriotism of the journalists involved. We're all Nigerians. And so a journalist can say he will carry this news and all that. If Nigeria wants, it will burn. They will. So the orientation is very, very important. Instead of smashing cameras in public places by soldiers and all the rest of them, get these journalists, talk to their editors, like somebody like the last professor spoke, and let them know that this country belongs to all of us. You cannot be more Nigerian than myself. So let's discuss and find means of carrying out stories that make this country, not the ones that destroy us. That's my take.
Thank you very much. So let me come back to my sister, Comfort Makolo, Assistant General Manager, Gombe Media Corporation TV. Professor Osiso made a comment, said journalists are discriminatory in what to cover or not to cover, what to publish and not to publish. Is this true, and to what extent? Or is it that we prioritize what we put out?
Well, I want to start by thanking, before I answer your question, thanking the Nigerian military for being gender sensitive, for ensuring gender inclusivity, because already there was a protest at the back that they've not seen any female gender on the podium. Now you've seen two, so we're getting there. I appreciate the Nigerian military. Thank you very much. And secondly, jokingly, the general manager NTA was whispering when Doctor was saying in 1978 he was the editor. So it was like asking me how old I was. Well, incidentally, today is my birthday, and I was exactly 4 years then. You do the math. So coming to your question, I think it depends on the individual or on the house style, but it is very, very wrong, for you to choose to prioritize maybe your news item or your news maker. It's very wrong and it's very unethical. I'm sure that's why Doctor pointed it out, because it doesn't even tell good of you as a professional journalist, or if the news goes on air and the general public or your audience sees it as you being prioritizing maybe a particular group or a person over another, sends wrong signals to the station, about the station. So I think we're supposed to be, that our actions, our job as journalists is a social responsibility, and we're here for, we should be there for everybody, irrespective of ethnicity, irrespective of religion, irrespective of whoever the personality is. We've known that over the years, it's still been practiced that who greases your palm very well. Sometimes journalists do that, they project the person very well with a news reportage, which is also wrong. But then there is a way, just like comfortable with you, they'll see you as a friend of the media and not as a foe, so that they don't prioritize, your news item or your activity over another. That's a very wrong practice.
That's not what we are really talking about. Okay, let me just come this way. Assuming that there is a news story about maybe this ram fights, during Salah, okay, and then there's another one about a crash or an attack somewhere. Would you not prioritize?
I understand you very well, because instead of prioritizing, we should look at, because we have human angle. government angle stories and other stories that maybe somebody may feel is of less concern or maybe less important. But well, our job as a journalist is to inform, educate, and entertain. So the round fight is also an entertainment. You know,
when you choose your 1, 2, 3, first, second, third, fourth story,
well, the crash
definitely the round fight would not be.
Will not be the sorry. The crash should be, because that is a human angle story. Lives may have been lost. You know, properties may have been destroyed. You know, and stuff like that. So that should be actually. There are certain reasons, certain stages where we should prioritize actually. You know, when it concerns, like I said, human lives, when it concerns for people to be safeguarded, for people to run away from the scene. Maybe there's a crash and there is fire, you know, in Nigeria where things like this happen, even if it's a motor crash, you see people coming around, there's a gas explosion, instead of you to run away, you come around. So the news is good to prioritize such news at that point, because we want to save lives. We want to protect human lives, we want to protect properties.
Well, let's go to Mr. Emmanuel Akila. Part of what we have come out with today is the fact that most newsrooms have been infiltrated by what you could say non-professionals. People from other fields of study have come in, they're reporters, they're presenters. We have them in almost every medium. What can be done to upgrade or to weed out such practice? Do you believe in upgrade? If you believe in upgrade, what manner of upgrade? Is it an internal upgrade or just normal formal training? And if you believe in weeding out, how?
Thank you very much. I would like to begin by appreciating the Nigerian Army for coming up with this very, very important aspect of their duty. And now, Nigeria is our country's society. The Nigerian Army is a segment of that society. The media is equally a segment of that society. And we all own a duty to our country. And now, what are we talking about today? Ensuring the safety, providing security to Nigerians, ensuring the safety of their property, protection of lives and property. And now, professionalism is very, very key when we're talking about that. And before I go properly to your question, let me appreciate Professor Garciso when he said he doesn't want it to dwell more extensively on the theoretical aspects of his presentation, which he researched into, but he would rather look at the critical aspects of what we are talking about in the Nigerian society today. And so some of us who are practicing journalists and who go out on a daily basis to meet with newsmakers sincerely appreciate what is happening today. Like you can see in this second panel of discussion, it's a mixed breed of the reporters like myself and my sister here, besides the professors who we know, and you yourselves too, thank you very much, besides the doctor and the professor who have practiced for quite some time. So I think sharing of our experience this time around, practical experiences, would give us better insight in terms of partnering with the Nigerian military to ensure that we contribute to our quotas to the safety of lives and property in our country. Now, an experience. So, he went back to the Commissioner of Police, and before you know it, the next minute I was invited and he granted that interview. So what am I talking about? I owe a duty to the public to inform them about what happened. And then it is a duty of the security agencies, let me put it generally this time around, to provide that safety to lives and property. So what are we talking about? Professionalism. Now, another instance is that on a very good working day, I left the house to go to the office so that I could go and get whatever assignment I would have for that day. So on arrival, on my way, I saw a fatal accident scene. So when I got there during the editorial, I said I was not going to wait for the editorial to finish before I would go out to cover that accident I saw on the road. So I was discussing with my manager to give me permission to quickly go out even before the editorial was done for that day. So the first question the manager asked me is, how many lives were lost in that accident? I said, in my brief check at that moment, when I stopped over, said there is no life lost. Even though I saw that accident was so ghastly, it looked so ghastly in the eyes. I said, but no life was lost. Do you know what she told me? There is no news. So you see that. So what are we talking about? Professionalism. The Nigerian Army and all other security agencies will give us the cooperation that we need. As vanguards of the society, we need that professionalism among us. Coming back to your question now, as to whether those who are coming from other fields of academic discipline should be part of members of the press that will go out there to report situations as they happen in the country.
Sensitive situations.
Sensitive, yes, thank you very much. So, it's a very good thing that we do that. Like another instance, when I traveled to Jerusalem to cover the story on 2 occasions, there will be a stopover at Turkey for military checks. And I was carrying gadgets on me that I myself personally, I look apprehensive. And I was thinking that, oh, they are going to stop me. But when I look at the conduct of the security agencies at the airport at Turkey, I was baffled. Nobody come to me, nobody checked the things I was having. And the people that were stopped at those security checks were even people that look innocent in the eyes. So, what is happening here? So, they display high level of professionalism in their conduct as security operatives. Just as we were expected to display high sense of professionalism in the conduct of our duties. So, training of journalists, of course, media house need to do that. Engaging more professional journalists is very, very important in ensuring that we work together with the military in providing safety to lives and property to Nigerians. Thank you.
Please, can I just one thing I want to say as well.
Okay.
Certain things may be true, but they are not expedient. There are stories that are true, but it's not expedient to tell them. That is why in a house you will find among the siblings one who wets bed. No matter the annoyance, they won't say it in public to shame him. The family protects him. It's the truth, but it's not expedient. I think it's important for us to be guided by that. Professionalism is a situation where you
understand when writing your report that any report that will undermine the operation of the security agencies is what? Undermining national security. Any report that will undermine the security of this nation. Let me give you an example. When America, during the war, how many of you know that Roosevelt was handicapped during that war? The American media did not report that. The average American media will never ever report any issue that will undermine the security of America. Because as far as they are concerned, America is everything. If you watch American films, America has never been defeated in any war. Why in Nigeria? A practical example is you read on the pages of Nigerian newspapers the movement of Nigerian troops. The movement of Nigerian troops, the operational details of the Nigerian military, thereby compromising national security. And we cannot live in Nigeria. If Nigeria is at war today, all of us are in trouble. Just like we are experiencing it now. I'm a victim of what is happening in Maiduguri. I had to leave Maiduguri for a year. And who ferried me to safety? It was the military. I had to call up the current geosecurity chief. He was the one that connected me with the chief of intelligence in Maiduguri, who was responsible for my escape from Maiduguri for a complete year. I was not in Maiduguri. So please, we should delineate between national security and the so-called, is it public interest? Yeah, public interest. Agreed, people have an interest. But then, you should prioritize national interest. Sorry, national security over public interest. Because when you compromise national security, you're compromising public interest too. Because there will be no country for that public to live in. Thank you.
Questions. However, I think you are talking about national security or your national interest. National interest. National interest is anything that has to do with the overall well-being of the Nigerian state and its people. It could be economic, it could be security, it could be medical, it could be anything. And to a large extent, unlike national security, which I will come to, the national interest is determined by the people because there's a value system that we hold dear and we respect it. And I can give you an example. When the issue of gay and lesbian marriage comes up, Nigeria refused to legislate on it and disagree. That is a typical example of national interest. We know we are risking sanctions by the Western countries and all the rest, but because it's against our culture, interests, and tradition, we decided to damn the consequences. That is an example. So basically, when you are talking about national interest, who's interested in it? But if you are gay, definitely you will not agree with it. But the overwhelming majority of Nigerian society disagree with it. So we have no choice. The majority always have their way, and even though the minority will have their say, I'm just giving. There are so many other examples of national interest. So it is what the people have agreed upon. Agreed we are diverse, but we have so much in common. Take for instance, even corruption. Every culture abhors corruption. Stealing is also part of national interest. So whether you are a petty thief or you are, billionaire thief, it's against the national interest. So there are so many examples. So you should know. So anything that is that promotes that is against national interest. Now, Gloria, Usman, comrade. But somebody told me you have committed class suicide. Oh, you are still a comrade. You are still a comrade. Okay. Well, the national security, practical example of national security. First and foremost, you need to look at the national security strategy signed by the immediate past president in December 2019. The definition of national security is there. And of course, is now being broadened to encompass all those things that, take for instance, security is not physical security or state security, but even when the citizens are hungry, it's national security issue. I hope you understand. So, this issue of practical example, and that is why they are talking about food security, and that is why they are talking about dealing with the issue of insurgency, banditry, and kidnapping, because they will disturb our agricultural system, and it will affect our food security. So automatically, that is practical example of national security. Because if you are all hungry, and I believe you are all, way back in the 80s where Michael Jackson and all the rest, they sang this thing, "We Are the World." The world has to rally around Ethiopia because they are so hungry. So you can understand that's a practical example. And another example is insurgency. The fact that it is happening in the northeast, it has the corresponding effect on other places. Let me give you an example, just to tell you how all these things are interrelated. There was a time, I think, two stragglers in the military, I believe you understand, and security forces, you know what is straggler, and a soldier roaming about aimlessly. Two of them went to NUJ Secretariat in Yola. For whatever reason, they started opening their mouths. And of course, I know they came from a particular battalion that was sent on peacekeeping operation. And the peacekeeping operation was not a UN mandated peacekeeping operation, either ECOWAS or African Union. They don't pay a certain due. So they were not paid their allowances, so they came back to the country after the expiry of their tour of duty. Of course, the military was looking for more boots on the ground in Northeast. They marshaled the battalion to the Northeast, so they were disgruntled. Anybody that knows the pattern of peacekeeping operations, sometimes you are so happy to go there, despite the risks, because your economy will be enhanced. But here you are, you have not been given the money, and you have been sent to another theater of operation. So they went with that mindset. They went on a war, they started talking. Of course, the reporter decided to carry a frontline story. All is not well in the Northeast. Military will down tools because of non-payment of allowance. I called him. I said, look, in fact, I became rude and unethical. I said, I wish when Boko Haram captured Numan, they were able to capture Yola. You wouldn't have been talking the way you are talking. Now, how could two people out of this number of people making sacrifice, and in fact, a corporal will determine this kind of story? Because I got phone calls from not only Maiduguri and elsewhere, but even Kano. They said they were relocating to Lagos because if the military are not paid, they are not safe. So you can see how the relationship is. This thing happened. Then if you are talking about another example, was when Baga failed the last time. You know, there was a time military marshal resources in Monguno. They wanted to recapture Baga. Now, one of the newspapers, their correspondent is here among us here, came out with a front page story with schematics. Behold, the military is marshalling resources to go and capture Baga. What are they telling Boko Haram? They are telling them that we prepare, these people are coming. So, then the third example was when Nigeria was trying to, oust Yahya Jammeh when he refused to concede defeat in the election. Nigeria decided to send a battalion. One of the newspapers wrote a front page story. Nigeria is sending a battalion to Gambia. Invariably, you are telling Yahya Jammeh that was trained in Jaja that because you used to say in the military, the enemy is equally trained. We are both Anglophone countries, so the tactics, the training was the same. And the ratio of is what? 1 to 3, right? So if you are sending a battalion, if Yahya Jammeh wanted to be mischievous, all he has to do is range a brigade against your people. There will be dead meat. That is issue number one. Those of you that have been trespassing West African countries, you know that there are quite a number of Nigerians doing trades and businesses. By the time they want to turn against them, what they will have to do, just like Nigeria is blackmailing you, saying that it is not ECOWAS, it is Nigeria, or France that is instigating you, they will lose their lives, they will lose their businesses. It happened in Ghana. So you can understand the issue or the practical of national security. You can imagine if these people, and that is why we have to commend the efforts of the security forces for trying to make Nigeria safe and secure. Because I can rest assure you, no country in the world that can contend with refugees from Nigeria. None, at least not in African continent. So you can understand. So these are the ways that you can look at it from that perspective. And of course, by the way, you are in NGOs. What is the research pattern of something being the truth? In most cases, it's 3 newspapers publication, right? Either wrongly or rightly. By the time 3 newspapers write the story. But I can tell you one practical example. There was a day, I think I was Director of Army Public Relations, on a Sunday like that, shortly after 2015, the Shia debacle. There was a front page story. Below, the Chief of Army Staff, Nigerian Army, with his flamboyant convoy, bigger than that of the President, he was passing along Olusegun Obasanjo way, and he passed in front of a church, they turned him back. Now, that Sunday, I swear to God that created me. I was in the house of the Chief of Army Staff. He was indisposed. He did not calm down. Talk less of leaving his house, talk less of leaving the house. Those of you who knows Abuja very well, nobody, not even you, Chairman. No, sincerely speaking, I want a hand, somebody who knows Abuja. Very good. You know Abuja very well. Good. Do you know Olusegun Obasanjo way? Where does it start from? It starts from Earth and Center, Cyprian Equancy House, right? What are the prominent landmarks? Post office on your left, AMAC on your right, Ghanaian and Chinese embassy on your left, Ministry of Defense, Bolungo Hotel, what do you call the other mega filling station? AB, NAFDAC, NNPC. What? As of today, afternoon, there is no chip on that street. But how do you make up with this story? Somebody in Canada will believe this. This thing happened. I can go on and on. So basically, these are the practical examples, and they have corresponding effect. The whole idea is they wanted to say, okay, the chief of army staff trampled on Muslims. Here are Christians now worshiping, and they sent him away. So you can understand the implication. You can see what we are talking about, this information disorder. Ordinarily, an average Muslim would feel bad that he has killed his brother, and now here are Christians, they have sent him. So no matter what he does, they will say he's being biased, and so on. So these are the kind of example. That's it.
Yes, thank you very much, sir. Can we appreciate the